All yours.
It's like Christmas every day, I tell you.
Glad to hear it.
I was watching the movie Elf for like the 700th time, and I seemed infinitely more interested.
And you gave that up to come here?
I did. I've seen it before, though.
Has Elf taken the place of A Christmas Story?
I don't know.
24-hour
I was
cycle on the...
really comfortable on the couch, though.
I don't know.
Didn't really matter what was on.
I don't.
I don't think I was going to be awake for more than about another hour.
He had it like,
Yeah.
20 minutes ago. Did you put it in your bag?
It's funny, you can watch the same movie like over and over, and you still laugh at the same dumb parts. It's like dumb.
It's good enough movie, yeah.
It's good enough. Go ahead.
Hey, Jeff. Separate parts.
Okay.
Look at that, 3 of us is a quorum.
There's a sign out there, and this is here.
Now, wait for Travis to get back here.
A little bit, things are going back a little bit. We're supposed to fill in a card to talk, is that the story?
Yes, oh, let's see. If it's something that's not on the,
I guess.
either way.
Either way.
Yes, yes, Mr.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes,
if
the answer is
you-
yes. If you want to comment on something on the agenda or off the agenda, go ahead and just mark the appropriate box.
But if we're commenting on the public hearing,
Yes,
Yes,
if you would
that's
fill
it.
one out, that would be
we
awesome.
still,
Yes, please. Thank you.
be able to put a hieroglyph on here, you guys know who it is.
Sorry, my reading's not that good.
The artist formerly known as Prince.
Give him another minute. Have you heard from Tiffany or Kim?
They both confirmed that they would be here.
They'll be here. Okay. All right. Well, I think they can miss the Pledge of Allegiance without too much upset. I'm going to call this meeting of the Woodland Planning Commission to order at 7:03 p.m. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks a lot. Would you call the roll, please?
Brian Mattson,
Present.
Kim Blaufus, Michael Benjamin,
Here.
Tel Jensen,
Here.
and Tiffany Whitten.
Okay. I think they'll probably show up in a little bit. The role of the planning commission is to hold workshops to review and make recommendations to the city council on all manner of policy and legislative activities. In some cases, we act as a quasi-judicial board for land use cases, which can then be appealed to either the council, the hearings examiner, or a court. All right, let's move on to citizen communications for items not on the agenda. Anybody, we get any cards for that? No, anybody have anything to talk about not on the agenda? All right, fantastic. Let's move on to approving the agenda. I think it looks great.
I looked it over, it looked good to me.
Okay. How about a motion to approve?
I move that we approve last meeting's agenda,
This meeting's agenda?
or this meeting's agenda, sorry.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up, looks like approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any changes? Things to talk about? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving right along to public hearing. Open the record for SUD-19-001, semi-trailer sales similar use determination. Trailer Sales LLC is requesting an interpretation as to whether the sales of semi-truck trailers is substantially similar to other permitted uses in the light industrial I-1 district. Before we go any further, anybody have any conflict of interest? Not sure about that. No? Great, sounds good. Have a staff report for us, Melissa?
Yes. All right, good evening, and hello to everyone. My name is Melissa Johnston. I'm Associate Planner with City of Woodland, and I will be giving the staff report tonight for the similar use determination public hearing that's regarding SUD 19-001. Okay. So the applicant is proposing to locate a trailer sales business in Woodland on 1855 Sherman Way. That's in the light industrial area. And this is a picture of one of the trailers that they would be offering for sale in that area. This one is a side dump trailer, and this might be used for construction, or there might be rubble in it, or landscaping rock, or even perhaps compost for agricultural use could be dumped into a windrow. And so we're here talking about this tonight, the similar use determination, because trailer sales are not listed as a permitted use in the light industrial area. Woodland Municipal Code, Title 17, Section 44, Section 30, for unlisted uses, says that we'll hold a public hearing and that the Planning Commission will make the determination. And the determinations that you can make are, one, to approve this use and add it to the list of permitted uses. You can approve it and say, you know, it's already covered under one of the existing permitted uses. You think it fits one of those categories perfectly already. And you can decide to deny this application and say it's not appropriate in the zone. So whatever decision you make will apply to the entire zone. This is our zoning map, and I apologize for the colors on this. That's not quite correct. Planning Commission, you can see the map on the wall easier, but it is the...
No, sorry.
Is it connected, or?
No, it's not.
Oh, is that why?
Sorry.
Okay, so light blue we know is traditionally the light industrial area on our map. On this map, it's that light pink color. So the purpose of this area we've defined in code is to designate an area for light manufacturing, a place where that can be. And so we can group it together in an area where they have access to multiple forms of transportation. Like we have the railway running through our light industrial area, and there are truck routes coming off of our interstate to the light industrial area. And also to group these industrial operations together so they minimize impact on other zones like residential. And these are a list of permitted uses already in that zone. So the first one, auto and truck salvage and wrecking yards. 2, bakeries for wholesales, like big bakeries, and they're allowed to have a little bit of retail if they want to have a little bit of outlet retail, but primarily it's for a large baking operation. And then I've skipped some there. There's about 30 uses listed in there, and so we're skipping ahead to the similar uses. So number 7, I think, is a similar use. Construction and logging equipment sales, repair and service. We also allow, in this district, farm machinery sales and service, and we allow heavy equipment sales and storage repair. And number 29 is other uses not listed, but are similar as determined by the Planning Commission. So I'll show you a couple pictures of what their lot might look like and what the items that they have for sale are. And so as you look at these, think about, does it fit one of those 3 uses that I named, number 7, 10, or 14? Does it seem like construction and logging equipment sales? Does it kind of look like farm machinery sales, and does it look like heavy equipment sales?
Where you store those doesn't matter. It should be a port or a
Yeah.
storage facility.
Hang on,
Retail
Aaron,
operation.
Aaron,
Yeah.
we'll get to public testimony.
Okay, so keep in mind if those fit those uses. And so here's 2 of them right here. One of those trailers has a conveyor belt in it that can convey out all the perhaps agricultural supplies or whatever's inside. And then there's kind of a dump trailer there, often used in construction. And the next slide, I took from Google Maps. This is their site right now in Kelso, so that might be what the yard would look like, and you can see a lot of big rigs parked around there, and then there's a street view. So these are really looking like industrial lots to me, and a lot of their customers are going to be also using these for industrial uses or commercial purposes or agricultural purposes, and agriculture is permitted in the light industrial area. So here's the next steps. Following me, the applicant can make a presentation, then we'll open for public comment. Afterward, you can invite me back up for staff response, and we'll close the hearing. Then, commission, you will discuss, you make a motion, and then you'll discuss that motion. And the motions that you might make tonight, according to WMC 1744030, unlisted uses, you can approve this use and add it to the list. You can approve it as something that's already on the list, or you can deny it.
Just clarification, we can also add conditions as well, right?
In this case, it's not a land use application, so there would be no condition.
This is more similar to a zoning text amendment.
Okay.
And it will apply to the...
Because I'm reading right here, I'm reading that section, it says, uses included under existing category of permitted use and approve the proposed use with or without conditions.
Oh,
Is what I-
that's true, that is what it says.
So technically what you're doing is you're interpreting the code and whether there's similar language in the code. Under the first option, if you want to add it to the list of approved uses, to actually change the code, like we went through the similar use determination for the retail sales versus auction sales. And the Planning Commission had made the decision that auction, retail are the same thing. So we added language to our code, which is actually a legislative process. And so we took a code change to the City Council, and the City Council adopted it. Now, you could say it is okay in certain zones. You could propose language to include it in certain zones. You could say it's okay if it's less than an acre in size. But that language that you propose is what would show up in code. So it's not as simple as attaching, yes, you can do this for the next 6 months. That would be like a typical condition of approval. But you're actually talking about code changes. And so we could change the code to say it's permitted for up to 6 months in the zone. But you're not talking about a site-specific condition here. You're talking about a code change.
Okay, well, I might ask to throw that on our list of retooling our code then, because that language seems kind of ambiguous to me.
Yeah. There's also 3 lists I guess you could consider. There's the permitted use list, and there's the conditional use administrative list, and there's the conditional use by public hearing list. So perhaps it could be hinting at that it could go on one of those conditional use lists, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true.
Is there any more on that? Okay, so I was going to say that my recommendation to you that I've written up in the staff report is that you approve this use and add it to the list of permitted uses for the light industrial area, and that additionally, that you take this opportunity to alphabetize that list, as I've outlined in the staff report. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Any questions for staff?
I have one question. Where it says trailer sales for commercial, industrial, and agricultural.
Mic up, please.
Sorry, I was being too comfortable back here. Where it says trailer sales for commercial, industrial, and agricultural, mobile office buildings that you might call trailers, would that fall into that same category? If somebody wanted to sell mobile office buildings on a lot like that, would that fall into this kind of category, or are we more specific than that?
Yeah, no, I could imagine that fitting in really well, and I think that would be good to discuss, and you can decide that as you make the exact language for the motion.
I do have to say, though, I think that's more for like temporary construction while the contractor's out there building.
It's more of a rental kind of a thing than sales, I think, yeah.
And in this case, the applicant is actually looking at moving into an existing building while they develop their own site. So they just want to be there for a short period. We just couldn't, because professional offices aren't allowed, but what they're actually doing could be considered similar to what would be allowed in the zone. And as the eager audience member pointed out, and that is that exact same trailer, while he owns it, it is not permitted, but whoever he sells it to could have it there. So it seems odd that the owner of it makes a difference as to whether or not it's allowed or not.
So why does it, forgive this question if it's a dumb question, but why isn't it considered farm material supplies and machinery sales, or why isn't it heavy equipment sales? Why isn't it already a permitted use in the IL zone?
You can decide that tonight. You could say,
I think it's covered
you
under
know
those
what,
already.
I think it's covered, and you could just call it good at that. I might suggest that we just add it to the list since we're talking about it and make it clear from here forward. Because we didn't see that it was explicitly listed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you look up like the NAICS deal? I mean, is it grouped?
We did not, but to me it was...
But your stuff doesn't go by those numbers,
Yeah.
does it? So-
But to me, we didn't need to dive that deep because it was kind of an easy conclusion. And if you choose option 2, we'll just add it to the retooling our code list and fix it later anyways.
Okay.
Because if that's the way you feel, we'll just throw it on the pile and fix it later.
I think it's close enough that it's not even a similar use argument, but that's just my opinion.
All right, any more questions for staff right now? This won't be your last chance. No. All right.
I wanted to add one more thing. I'm sorry, I don't want
No.
to drag this on. I think Mike does make a good point. When you lead with trailer sales, it could mean a big umbrella of other things. Since this is clearly heavy equipment or construction equipment, I think that it might be important to delineate the difference.
Okay, does applicant have a presentation for us? Yes. Fantastic. Come on up. Please give us your name and address, dude.
My name's Jeff Zimmerman. I'm the president of Trailer Sales. We're currently located at 704 Colorado in Kelso. I started the business in 2009, actually out on Wayland Loop Road. I rented some land and an office in the back of the double wide that Double J uses for an office out there. So I started out there in 2009 and was able to lease a building up in Kelso in 2010. we're having to relocate, not of our choice. Our landlord owns our whole building and is expanding his business. I live in Vancouver. Most of my staff lives up around Kelso. Woodland is a perfect spot. You know, it's halfway in between. And I've got customers down here. Tribeca Transport is a customer. You know, deal with a lot of customers in Southwest Washington. When we started, we're classified from the state as a retailer, but we hold what's called a miscellaneous dealer license. This allows us to sell trailers, not mobile homes, not travel trailers, not boat trailers, but basically miscellaneous heavy trailers, or even, you know, light duty trailers. We don't sell anything that is not a heavy duty trailer that goes in the construction. It's material handling is basically our niche. You know, we haul product, and that can be anything from cauliflower to green beans, you know, potatoes, onions, compost and manure, cattle feed, dairy feed, municipal biosolids.
Hopefully not all together.
Not all together, but most of the time, certain things are only hauled in certain trailers. And then we got into construction and hauling aggregate and things like that. So we sell and rent, and we don't have a lot of foot traffic come in our office. I mean, most everything, the site at 1855 Sherman, there is no shop space whatsoever available in that building. It's all occupied by Mac Chain. So all this is an office. And we envision putting 3 machines out front, and we're going to add some parking spaces so we conform to the proper number of spaces that are still left there. I've met with Mac, and so we'll still conform to the number of parking spaces. But we'll have most of our inventory at another off-site location, you know, where we just a warehouse yard where we park stuff. Our long-term goal is we're working on purchasing a property here in Woodland in the city limits and expanding and building our own building. So we don't have to move.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
Would that building also just be an office, or would you have your trailers?
It would be an office with a shop, a repair facility, trailers would be stored there and things like that. Right now, the property we're trying to buy is not light industrial. It's zoned highway commercial. So that's, you know, that just happened to be, I mean, that was just a slam dunk. If it's zoned that way, we don't have to worry about anything. So, you know, we're looking at being at this site. And this office has been empty. I buy product from Mac Chain. So I go down there and pick it up, and we install it, you know, for our customers. And I know the office has been empty for several years, and it works good. Woodland would work great for us. It'd just be a good location, and they're willing to give us a 15-month lease instead of having to commit to a 2 or 3 or 4 year lease when our time frame is hopefully to be in something that we own, you know, in a year to 18 months. Well, I won't bore you guys with a lot. If you want some more details or you have any questions, you know, pretty much everything that we do, you know, we're hauling, we got Sierra Pacific hauls wood chips, you know, we've got Tribeca hauling biosolids, construction companies, several of them, Nutter, Taylor Transport, all hauling aggregate and construction materials, and a lot. The first stuff I started in was ag, and I grew up on a farm, so we just started the self-unloading belt trailers are perfect for hauling cattle feed, you name it, we haul it. It's amazing the things that you can put in some of these units.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any questions. I might have a question for Travis.
So what will be there then is an office, which is already there. And 2 or 3 vehicles that are like representative of what you have, and then the rest are on an off-site location someplace? Is
Correct.
that what you're describing? And a shop to repair, or?
No, the shop, we won't have a shop to repair at that facility at all. There is no space available. So we're working with our current landlord. We're probably going to do some repair in a transitional facility in Kelso for a while until something comes up, or we can get going at our new site.
So, okay, so just a temporary place to conduct business, okay?
Yep.
Although the repair shop would be a permitted use in the zone.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to open public testimony now. So, have we got any?
Mr. Simpson, was it for this case or the other one? No.
Can I ask one question on the facility?
Why don't you come on up if you would? Give us your name and address, what would you?
First time.
Quite all right.
Aaron Signor. I'm
Up to the mic.
Yeah, we got to hear you in the mic.
Aaron Signor. What else am I supposed to give you?
Where do you live? You don't have to be
Address,
specific,
Vancouver. How many acres are you talking about? I've got 20 years in the auto industry, and now I sell real estate. How many acres are you talking about?
For the future facility?
The one you're talking about here in
Are you
town?
trying to do a real estate right here?
No, I'm trying to figure out, dealerships take up a lot of space. When we built Vancouver Ford, and Bill Marshall put all that in '88, they put a lot of thought into it.
So you're talking about the building we're talking about leasing on 1855 Sherman Way?
The dirt. How many acres?
It's an existing facility, and we are going to eliminate, we're going to eliminate 9 parking spots that are there, and we're going to add 7 because they have 2 extras. So we're going to be just putting 3.
How many trucks, though?
3.
Just
We're
three
just gonna
trailers?
put whatever fits in front of the building. Do we have an aerial?
Just a simple retail.
Do you have an aerial of that property?
Was that your question, or were you asking on the future
I was
when he gets?
concerned about the future because.
Yeah, because he's answering you about the current, and
Yeah,
I thought you were
future.
answering about the
Okay,
future.
you're talking about the future. We're looking at a property that's a little over 2 acres.
Mike, please.
So,
Okay.
2 acres, okay, thank
yeah, we're
you.
looking at a property that's a little over 2 acres.
And it is the red dot?
No, that property is not being discussed tonight.
Yeah.
I apologize for my,
So he's talking about putting trailers here.
Actually, just right here on this side of the handicap spots, there's 2 handicap spots here. Those are actually, both of those.
that's current.
Yeah, this is
Then the rest
where
of
we're
it-
proposing.
the rest of
Those are
the-
going to probably get relocated,
The rest
wherever
of-
it's proper.
The rest of the trailers are gonna go where? Where's the inventory going?
There's just going to be 3 trailers that sit, whatever.
Takes up 2.5 acres?
No.
No, no, different site.
That's a whole
Okay.
different, yeah, that's
Different
not, that's a whole different
All
meeting.
right. All right, thank you. Any more public testimony? Last chance on this one. Okay, staff have any more to add after we heard the applicant?
I have a question for Melissa. Is this going to be an expanded use that's already on site? Are there going to be transportation impact fees charged?
Oh, for this project?
Eventually,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what we're arguing today, I'm just.
Yeah, no.
Will it go through a land use review for the move-in, or is it going to be like a tenant improvement?
Whether or not they have to remove the parking spaces, probably not, because it's an existing building
Okay.
that's already paid impact fees.
Okay.
So the relocation of the parking spaces, probably not. If they have
Okay.
to repave, it might.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, so make sure the applicant doesn't have anything else to add. We're good? All right, fantastic. I'm going to close public testimony then, and now let's talk.
I think it fits under the existing uses, and I also agree with the logic that Melissa has in her staff report on how it's similar.
And so you're agreeing that we should add an extra space for it, just to make sure that it's listed appropriately? Is that what
I
you're
say,
agreeing with?
I don't know if that's necessary, but I'll vote for it if that's the way the rest of the board wants to go.
What do you think, Kim?
I don't know that it's necessary either, but I don't know.
If
Travis,
staff
I
feels
mean-
it's important to add
Yeah.
it, then I'll back up staff on that.
Here's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Just, I'm leaning towards doing our second option and saying it's similar enough to
Heavy
an
equipment.
approved, yeah, to heavy equipment.
Either
And
or,
if-
7 or 10.
And that will take care of things for our applicant tonight without having to do a code amendment through city council. And then if we want to come back and add trailers at some point, retool, it's just part of our usual project, our retooling the code project. That works for me. Does that sound?
Sounds agreeable to me.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, especially for a temporary,
Keep it simple and do absolutely nothing.
Right,
No, we're not doing nothing. We're making a simulator.
And he's saying,
Clarifying it.
Yeah.
no, yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying number 2.
So I move that we,
Hold on 1 second.
I just have one question. Is there a reason why, in particular, that staff feels like we should have a separate designation as opposed to including it in heavy equipment? I mean, I don't want to limit staff either here, but
I think if you feel strongly enough, we can add it to the retooling our code because you feel that way. I don't know that we necessarily feel it's necessary.
okay.
Since-
We're good then.
Okay,
So we all feel good about it?
Well,
lots of good feelings around, yeah. I'm happy to say that it's included under an existing permitted use.
Yeah.
That's
I am.
my take on it. All right.
Okay, so how do we?
I move that we abandon the proposal to add it as a line item and instead consider it already an approved use.
I second that.
Okay. That does leave aside alphabetizing our list, which does seem to make sense. But we can do that later, yes?
with the retooling our code.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, fantastic. Anybody else have any more?
So the similar use would be heavy equipment in particular, or?
Yeah, do we have to pick which one? Which
I think
approved use it is?
it's heavy
I don't
equipment.
think it makes a difference.
Doesn't make
Okay.
It's one of those.
All right.
Okay. All right. If everybody's ready, then let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Brian Mattson.
Yay. I think it's yay, right?
That's fine.
It works.
Yay it is. Kim Blaufus,
Yes.
Michael Benjamin,
Aye.
Tel Jensen.
Aye.
The motion is passed.
I was wondering if the vote should have been no because staff was proposing to add it.
I think
you
our
know what I mean?
choice
I don't know.
was, we had three choices. though,
I think it's clear our
Yeah.
position.
We picked one. All
At
right.
least on the-
So that's going to close the hearing for SUD-19-001. Moving on to the next item, I'm going to open the public record for ZTA-19-009. This is self-service storage facility zoning text amendment. The City of Woodland is considering a change to the Woodland Municipal Code that would prohibit new storage facilities, including mini storage, storage containers, and recreation vehicle storage facilities within all zoning districts. This is a non-project action that could impact all city property owners and tenants citywide. Okay, any conflicts of interest to note on this one? No? All right. In that case, Travis, you have a staff report for us.
Melissa?
Yes.
Thank you. So for the record, my name is Travis Goddard. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Woodland. And the reason why this is before you is because during my monthly reports to the to the City Council, I had brought up on a couple occasions that we've seen several new applications for mini storage and self-storage facilities. We have one approved, we have an expansion approved, and we've had a pre-application conference for a new storage facility. And I've also had a couple inquiries about additional 20-acre parcels for, or about 40 acres of total parcels being considered for mini storage. And I know that the City of Vancouver had a moratorium and that they recently were looking at updates to the code. So the City Council had mentioned that they wanted me to prepare language about prohibiting additional mini storage, and so based upon that action, I added it to your agenda for tonight. But in preparation of that staff report, sorry, Melissa, can you go to the next one? In preparation for tonight, I was doing some basic research on the web, which included reviewing the Planning Commission stuff, and I also called the existing storage businesses in the city and in Cowlitz County, in close proximity to the city, and tried to do an analysis based upon the information that the City of Vancouver had gathered, so we could do kind of a comparison for the two. And based upon that, next slide, I didn't necessarily prepare language today because I was specifically told that I should look for some prohibition language, but I felt that it was probably important that we have this discussion before we necessarily jump to preparing prohibition language. So what I tried to do is a little bit of a cold, hard statistical analysis and what I kind of gathered, and I'm hoping to get your opinion as to whether or not what kind of language I should prepare. So this is kind of what I gathered, and with my basic research on the web, I found a users association or an owners mini storage association, mini storage business owners association, a couple of them actually, but one of them had some really good information on the website, and this is some of that statistical stuff that I found. According to the industry association that I was looking at, 8.96% of all U.S. households have a storage unit that they're using. 67% of the storage renters, they live in single-family residential. 13% are rented for 3 months or less, whereas 52% of them are rented for more than a year. So those are just the general statistics. Next slide. There's also 48,500 businesses in the U.S., and this was 2018 number, and they point out that, there are only 7,880 Starbucks, and there's 14,146 McDonald's, so it's a much bigger industry numbers-wise. And they also employ 172,000 employees. The average...
Does?
Sorry?
Storage does?
Storage, yes. Storage facilities, 172,000. Nationwide. And that's based on U.S. Census data. The average, or a typical storage facility, is 2.5 to 5 acres in size. They do about $38 billion in revenue in 2018. About 1.7 billion square feet of rentable space, 10.3% vacancy rate, and the construction value in storage facilities has increased over the last 10 years from basically $1 billion worth of new construction a year to $5.5 billion worth of new construction every year. Next slide, thank you. So, using the City of Vancouver information and the Planning Commission hearings from just the last couple months, these are some of the statistics they used in their consideration. And that is, the City of Vancouver has 30 facilities within the city. They have 1.4 million square feet of rentable area, and it equals about 8 square feet per resident. That's based upon 183,000 in their 2018 population. And market saturation, according to the City of Vancouver staff, is about 8 to 10 square feet of storage for every citizen, every resident in the community. So the City of Vancouver is actually at the lower end of what they consider a saturated market. Vacancy rates in Vancouver, and this is based on anecdotal data from their discussion and when they had an open house, and that is in 2016 they were 100% full. But the reason why they're having this discussion is because they've had a bunch of new applications, and those new applications, those new facilities have dropped the vacancy rates from 100% during the summer, which is their peak season, to about 83%. So that's anecdotal. I don't know that that's statistically true across the industry, but the people they talked to, that's the number they came up with. Questions? I can see one on your... Brian?
I was sharing some notes with Kim. 1.7 billion square feet and 700,000 employees. I just thought if you divided that really quick, you'd get a poor,
172,000.
172. So that's would be even worse than I was thinking as far as employee per square feet.
And you're saying that it's 172,000 and that there's 48,000 businesses?
48,000, yes.
And that they're average 2.5 acres?
Yes. So I get to that number later, because yes, that's part of the reason why the city council is looking and seeing a little more doom and gloom. So, next slide. So the city of Vancouver, what they're specifically looking at is they recognize that storage may be an important need, but the most efficient use of their land would require for multi-story storage facilities, which is one of the new trends that's occurring. So you can get a smaller site and you can get 3 times as many units on the site by going multiple stories. And the other thing they're looking at is interior access only, because the city of Vancouver doesn't have design standards. Prohibiting outside storage and prohibiting activities not appropriate within storage units. So people who are doing welding businesses and yada, 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 I'm assuming that's what they're kind of talking about, is that's not the intent of the storage locker to operate a business out of.
I don't understand what interior access only means.
So central hallway with doors off to the side as opposed to...
Oh, exterior roll-up doors.
Exterior roll-up doors,
Okay, I got it.
yes. So also with the 3 stories, occasionally you'll see the windows and you can see the doors inside, but from the street it's all windows, which is...
They're not allowing for RV storage and stuff like that.
So that's an interesting question, because they were looking at mini storage as a separate item. And typically RV storage, the city of Vancouver, the property is way too valued to just have a bunch of vehicles stored. The square foot rental rate would be, and so we'll get to that, because city of Woodland and smaller jurisdictions on the outside, it's more feasible.
Do we know what the occupancy rates are in Woodland compared to Vancouver? I mean, are they similar?
We don't.
Okay.
And I didn't get that feedback from the applicants. So there might be 1 or 2 owners here tonight who might be able to answer that, or might be willing to answer that.
How outside is outside storage? Like, is that like just a carport, a pole-supported roof? Does it have to have 2 walls, 3 walls, or
I'm not
is
sure.
there any qualifier on that?
I'm not sure how they exactly defined that. But the reason why I threw this in there is because, for the exact reason that I didn't bring prohibition language to you, because there's a lot of gray in yes or no, whether you want to prohibit a use or not. You can prohibit some pieces. Sorry, can you go back 1 slide? Is there anything in the bottom? They also talked about adding design standards and expansion of existing facilities. Both of those are covered by Woodland Code. In the commercial district, we have design standards, not in industrial district though. But we also have expansion and non-conforming uses. So if somebody does have a site that has half of it covered with an existing storage facility, they would be able to expand it under our non-conforming section. So even if we prohibit them, we could have some existing property owners who have the right to expand.
How strenuous is the criteria to achieve expansion of a non-conforming use?
Not very.
Not very?
Yep. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much an open door.
Some people try to phase out their non-conforming uses, so they make it so that they eventually go away.
Yep. And Woodland's almost the opposite. So next slide, thank you. So the city of Woodland, we have 6 facilities in the city, and our population is significantly smaller. So in other words, we have 20% of the facilities in the city, but only 3.3% of the population. The next one, we also have 1 new approved. So when you factor that in, we have 7 facilities, which is 25% of Vancouver for 3% of the population. We also have an expansion approved, Burrs Creek Mini Storage. And we also have one in the permitting process, so there's actually going to be eventually 9. And when you click the next one, Melissa, when you consider Cowlitz County, there are 5 facilities within a mile of the city of Woodland. So actually, when you take a look at it, we have almost 40% of the storage facilities for 3% of the population of Vancouver. So one of your questions was, and one of the city council's concern is, and that is, we're the dumping ground for the uses that they can't find a spot in Cowlitz County or Clark County or the city of Vancouver, so they're going to come to Woodland because our land is cheap, there's no hurdles to get in, and the prices, make it a lot more feasible. So that was the concern. So the question is there market saturation? Sorry?
So the other part of the concern is, if we don't have an overabundance of those, and we have other types of businesses in the community, instead of being just loaded up with storage facilities only.
Yes. So you're starting to see some of the same issues that the city council had raised with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So market saturation. The market is considered saturated at 8 to 10 square feet per resident. The city of Vancouver is currently at 8. You're much better at this, Melissa, than I was for you. I'm sorry about that. For the city of Woodland, we're currently at, based upon my approximate estimates, 58.5 square feet per resident of the city. And if you were to take out the RV spaces because they have a lot of space per square foot, we are still at like 27 square feet per resident for the city of Woodland. So when you consider saturation, the needs of the city of Woodland, totally saturated. But when you look at, so let's look at another metric, and that is we have 2,220 housing units approximately for our 6 facilities. So if we use the 9% of the units need storage units or rent them at any given time, that means our internal city demand is about 199 units per year. And the reality of what we're looking at, next slide, Melissa, is this is our existing estimates, 750 units when we only need 199, and we currently have 376 approved or existing RV spaces. When you add the permitted stuff or the stuff that's in the permitting pipeline, you add 454 units and 448 RV spaces. When you look at Cowlitz County and how they're adding to our supply, there's 1,300 additional units and 316 RV spaces for a grand total of 2,504 units and 1,140 RV units. So when you consider our demand is 199 and our supply, so instead of 10% of our households, we're assuming that 112% of our households are going to use RV spaces as opposed to what the industry considers typical.
So if we're not using those, or shouldn't have that need because it's not typical, then someone else is using them.
Yes. Because
they're not empty.
Yes. And the issue of if the market can bear additional businesses is an argument that needs to be made, because apparently if we can support 2,500 units, then the market is not broken. Maybe our expectations and our regulations are broken. And that's part of what I think you guys need to discuss tonight, why I'm trying to prevent some of these statistical issues. Next slide. So, I also estimated the typical square footage for the city of Woodland, and I wanted to give you some idea of how I arrived at the numbers previously. So existing square footage is 232,000 plus square feet, which is about 17.75. So even if we ignored all the RVs and the stuff that's in the permitting pipeline, if it doesn't get built, we're still somewhere in the 180% of the saturated market expectation. When you add the stuff that's already been approved but hasn't been built, we're more at 32 square feet per people. So we have plenty in the pipeline as well as plenty existing on the ground. And then when you include what's existing in Cowlitz County, again, that's 63.54 square feet. So when you include the RV spaces, it's almost 80 square feet per resident of the city.
I think you've made your point.
The reason, so I just wanted to fill in, that's how I got those kind of astronomical numbers.
Good work.
Yeah.
Definitely good work.
So next I wanted to move on to what you need to consider when you look at this question and when you give me instructions for hopefully what you want to do next month. The quality, the community vision as laid out in our comprehensive plan, that's always kind of the document that we as planners go back to, and that is there are quality of life goals and policies in our plan which talk about desire of the city to function, small town atmosphere, diverse housing, community events and festivals are high on our vision list. Historic preservation, development pays for itself. The comp plan is supposed to guide future growth and provide best opportunities for economic benefits and encourage innovative development techniques. And so I'm going to transition into the economic development chapter because there is a market argument that has been made to me at the counter, and that is if there's still a market for more storage, then the market should drive it, not necessarily the city's regulations or desire to prohibit it. So there is a whole chapter on economic development, and it talks about vibrant business community, burgeoning industrial port, consistent, stable, and sustainable economic growth and local jobs, diverse and balanced economy, so expansion and redevelopment of existing industries, and creating a diverse and stable variety of employment. So there are supporting arguments and kind of opposing arguments to storage, whether it should be prohibited or permitted in our comprehensive plan. And the next slide talks about the job targets that are in the comprehensive plan. This was a big issue for the city council when they kind of referred this to me. Our goals in the comprehensive plan is 4 jobs per acre of industrial land and 20 jobs per acre of commercial land. And storage industry, kind of using their own numbers, 172,000 jobs, 48,000, which basically means the average storage building or storage facility creates about 3.5 jobs, and jobs are jobs. But when you look at the per acre, it's considerably lower than what we're trying to create in our economic development chapter and what our goals are. But it raises the question, and that is, jobs are jobs, investment is good. Is it better to have a bird in the hand? Yes, we might get another Columbia River Carbonates to invest millions and millions of dollars, but if it doesn't develop, we have a lot of empty land in our industrial district. So do we want to prohibit investors from coming to town when they have money to spend? There's also the arguments about it's a low service user versus a low revenue generator. So they have low or no water and sewer use, which means pro and con. They contribute little to the water and sewer funds, but it also means they don't use a lot of water and sewer, which means our existing facilities will last a little longer. They produce very little traffic, but they also produce very little money for us to maintain our roads. There's low investment versus low tax revenue, meaning that one of the new trends in the industry is storage containers. If you go down south of Horseshoe Lake, you'll see that there are containers starting to pile up on that property. And I'm wondering at some point, are they going to start having storage containers 2 or 3 high? Is that the impression we want of Woodland? You know, it has no taxable value, it has no revenue value, it has no job value, may not be something we want to go after. Sorry, can you go back one more?
Travis?
Yeah.
You're talking about those storage containers as storage facilities. is
Yes,
that-
yes, that's the new trend. And also, one of the new trends in the industry is there are actually no employees on site. You rent online, and you just drive up, use the door, they give you the code, and you store your stuff, and there's not even anybody on site. So it's possible that these jobs in the future may not even exist. So, sorry, now you can go to the next one. So, what I'm really talking to you about today is what kind of language that you would like us to kind of prepare, because it's a lot more of a complex discussion than simply deciding that we have enough and it should be prohibited. So what do you want me to look at? And I would request that you open the public hearing, you listen to the citizens who are here tonight, give us some instructions, and then continue the public testimony and the hearing to the January meeting. That way I can prepare some language for you to take a look at, and then you actually would have something to make a decision on.
Okay. Thanks, Travis.
Okay.
Yeah, let's, anybody have any quick questions for Travis?
It's a good presentation, Travis. Thanks for all the work.
Okay.
I have one, actually, sorry, I
Okay,
thought of one
go,
quick
shoot.
question. Do you know off the top of your head the unzoned areas that butt up against our light industrial and heavy industrial properties in the bottoms?
Yeah.
Is storage units allowed use in their unzoned area?
In Calhoun County?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Yes, because we already
Even
have...
if we chose to do something, they could still build them there.
Yes, and that's one of the arguments that was raised, that they'll just go into Cowlitz County and then we'll still have the impact.
Still
but-
drive on all our roads to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off on public testimony for just a second. Let's take a 5-minute break and meet back here at 8 o'clock.
Okay, thanks.
Public testimony. I'm going to go with my card first, and that is from Dave Simpson.
I'm the only one with a card?
You're not on the card, you're the only one following the rules.
I'm the only one.
Just so that we've got the record.
I just looked down, saw I grabbed some wrong paperwork. Hi, my name's David Simpson. My permanent address is 506 Robinson Road, Woodland, where I own Burris Creek Mini Storage. I'm also very familiar with this room. I was a planning commissioner here for almost 15 years, chairman for I think 13 of them, volunteer of the year twice for that duty. So
I didn't vote for you.
You didn't vote for me? I believe you. This obviously is an issue that I have a little bit of knowledge in, and thought I would come share it with you. When I was chair, Chell might remember me quoting Benjamin Franklin and saying that there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. And first off, I'm going to be honest with you, that's a lie, because Benjamin Franklin didn't say that. That's what makes it fun. Nobody ever notices.
The statistic thing was a little questionable.
It was a Mark Twain thing. But if I had the clicker to go back through that presentation,
Where would you like me to go?
let's go to the Starbucks frame there. There we go. 48,500 mini storage complexes in the United States, but there's probably over 100,000 coffee shops, and there's who knows how many fast food restaurants. You know, we're not comparing apples to apples for anything here. And a lot of these numbers, they definitely made a case for one side, but there's a lot of fact that if you call and you ask in Woodland if I can get a unit or how long is the wait for a unit, you'll find Woodland's pretty saturated. And saturated with business. We're not, you know, there's no empty units. We have waiting lists. Everybody has waiting lists. I mean, a little nervous on this side of the desk over here. One thing I'd like to take to task from the start is how fast this is moving. You know, I think it was on November 6th that the city council decided to do something about the large amount of mini storages in Woodland, and we're having a public hearing on it on December 5th. You know, when the city of Vancouver looked at their stuff, they put a 6-month moratorium on it. They did 6 months worth of market research, and then they brought it to their planning commission, and after another 6-month moratorium, and then they made a decision on it. They didn't just jump right in with, well, we're lucky we don't have language today. You know, I think it's part of planning to do the work and plan, not react. I'm not saying the moratorium was the wrong thing, but I'm saying to just jump into it that quick, and if you want to quote Benjamin Franklin, please go get some of your own statistics, do some of your own research. I think maybe having the people from Vancouver do a presentation on what they found, because they started out with a moratorium and they ended up allowing storages in a lot of zones, and then doing basically an overlay for 500 feet from specific arterials where they prohibited storages on others. They did a kind of a complicated situation, but they still allow storages in many of their zones. You know, I wasn't able to print out what all of the final decisions were, but it looked pretty liberal to me when they were done. So, and then as far as the jobs numbers go, there's a lot of economy that happens because of mini storage that doesn't relate to how many employees I may have. You know, there's contractors that use our storage for their cabinets and showers and things that they're going to be putting in houses. There's just really several different types of businesses that storage is a part of the business and helps make that business viable. I'd like to see some research done there, you know, to find out for yourselves kind of what the real economy is of storages. I know that when probably 10 years ago in Planning Commission, when we were looking at allowed uses in these zones, it was brought up to make storage facilities a conditional use. And that might be something to consider when you're looking at your languages. Fortunately, there's none tonight. That maybe by conditional use, you know, storage, one thing about mini storage is you're able to make a good use out of an odd-shaped piece of property, you know, off of a piece of property that's not attractive for any other kind of development, and it still be viable. You know, I saw those numbers up there, and I just felt, wow, I pay, you know, 10 times the property. When we see that the new police fee is going to be 69 cents per thousand, or $180 for the average house, and I'm looking at that going, well, that's going to cost me $1,000. I haven't had a police call ever, so my cost per call there is pretty high, which I don't mind helping the police, but we do provide economy, and I think it's more than just in the job count or the jobs per acre. And then furthermore, I think if you're going to look at jobs per acre, you shouldn't look at one specific industry. There's a look at everything on the list of allowed uses and do the research on how many jobs per acre they have. It's great to have those goals. I mean, we have to have those goals. But if we're going to plan this, let's not pick on one specific industry. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Go right ahead.
So, Mr. Simmons, are you...
You can call me Dave.
Dave.
It's fine. Everybody, please, call me Dave from now on.
Okay. Dave, are you planning to expand your...
I am
speaking in favor.
well, I am permitted to expand.
So you're already...
I'm the permitted
you're already in the pipeline.
Yes, I am permitted to expand. I'm not here, I could be here to size up the competition. I could be here to thank you for eliminating competition.
That's what I was going to get to.
But I'm here because this should be done very smartly, with a lot more thought, and I read the stuff that Vancouver did. They put together a little fact sheet, which I have a copy of it for you. They taught me in public speaking not to pass out the goodies while you're talking, right? You remember that? But it talks about their temporary moratorium and what their plans and goals were, and then I have copies of the map for everybody. What missed my stack, I think, nope, there it is. I have a page from one of my appraisals, and the thing to take a look at on that, just that page, is the zoning analysis. And that's a litmus test for my appraisal. Is this a permitted use? Will he be able to rebuild if there was a catastrophe? Those things, I don't know. I haven't asked. If I'm not a permitted use anymore, if that's going to affect future financeability or insurability, but it is something that should be in the radar in these decisions. You're going to make a few businesses in this town are pre-existing non-conforming, and what is it going to do to affect me and my competitors? It's been a friendly business in Woodland, the storage business. We all work together to take care of people. Really not much more about it than I can say, other than we're quiet. We don't have any environmental effects, very low carbon footprint. We don't consume anything. So it's there's a lot of pluses that aren't in those statistics.
Dave,
So-
can I ask you a question?
You bet.
Hey, what does it mean, what are you saying when you say conditional use?
So, you know how you did this similar use determination here? You can have a list of conditional uses in your list of uses in the industrial that have to be approved with a hearing. We have to ask if we can do this use on this property.
So we kind of have, we have outright permitted, we have prohibited, and then we have conditional uses that kind of fall in between.
Typically, conditional uses allow the reviewers to add a broader range of conditions as they see fit to mitigate whatever impacts that something has. Like you could add conditions above and beyond the normal regulations to mitigate whatever negative impacts that use would have. Say we could double the landscaping that would be normally required around it. Things like that to mitigate this.
Require free parking spot for planning commissioners.
Do you think, Dave, if they said that, a future storage is prohibited, that every pre-existing storage place would then become non-conforming?
Yes, I saw the little asterisk about being able to rebuild or add on or something like that, and I'd like to know what
That was part of my question.
what piece of code that was.
We spent a long time on non-conforming uses.
But I believe we spent a lot of time on non-conforming uses in the downtown. I don't remember doing anything outside downtown. So
in some jurisdictions, if your use is destroyed by more than, say, like 75%, and it's a non-conforming use, they won't let you rebuild.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the number specifically is, or, again, Travis said earlier that we don't have very stringent non-conforming use standards, but
I don't know what we have for the industrial.
It would be concerning if I had a piece of property with a non-conforming use on it, I would definitely be interested in that section of the code.
Yeah.
So that would be something that would have to be addressed with this too, because it seems like if they already have this business, they should be able to continue with it.
If we decide to recommend prohibition, that is certainly something we'd have to think about.
Yeah, we can't just say, if we just say that we're not going to put him in Woodland anymore, we can't run Dave out of town. He can still operate his business.
And if his business burns down, he can still rebuild?
I believe so, yeah.
And again, Dave,
And that was-
you have something that's already in the works and approved. I'm not an attorney, right?
So,
But
I
I
have-
don't think we could stop you.
You couldn't stop me, no, and I'm not here worried about you stopping I have a fill and grape permit, it's permitted. I still have a little over an acre of surplus land. I could kind of redevelop a piece. I would let my kids, I'm not permitting anything ever again, but, it's not for the faint of heart, gang, trust me. I mean, and I thought having kids, I was young when I had kids, and I thought, boy, these grandkids, were my kids this tough? And I'm 17 years between developing one piece and the next. And it's like, was it this tough last time? It wasn't. But if my kids want to do that expansion, it would be a multi-story, indoor, that would be what would be next for us. And according to that asterisk, I can do it, but I don't know where that is in the code, and I'd like to know that that's either addressed or no, we're never going to do it or whatever in the code. Now, furthermore, this road thing, and you got a timer up there on me, this road thing
Foolishly, no.
is essentially an overlay. So another creative avenue to look at with this is an overlay. If you've got this beefy industrial out west of town that you want to protect and use to create lots of jobs, maybe an overlay is the answer. But there's some commercial here in town that I would see as a good fit for storage, and really, otherwise, we're 50 years from it developing into anything else. The life expectancy of a storage building is 45.
That's something I wanted to ask you about is, do you find, you said Vancouver's got a buffer from some arterials and, an overlay is an option. Is your business really sensitive to location? Like if we decided you couldn't be in some part of town? Do you need frontage visibility? Is that?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you don't need frontage visibility. Basically, our business models may answer your phone, and we get the business. Other people just, don't answer their phone, and we got a customer a while back because one of our competitors didn't have the half hour before closing to be able to rent them a unit. We don't have enough time to fill out paperwork today. The guy came to us, and just because we'll take time for you, sir. Customer service. It is a customer service industry as well. So I will give you guys these. Let you pass them out amongst each other.
All right.
Everybody gets a job. Well, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, Dave.
I hope I was able to help. If there's no more questions,
We may end up with some more questions.
there's extras for Travis on those too.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, sir.
Point of order, Dave. I know the city council has a 5-minute limit on, and I don't know about hearings in particular, if it's the same, but should we have a time limit? If
For hearings, typically we'll do, if it's a contentious sort of thing and there's a lot of folks here to testify, then we'll put a time limit on it.
Okay.
Dave was the only one signed up tonight, so I gave him a little more time than I might otherwise. Is there anyone else that would like to testify? Yeah, all right, great. I would, give us your name and address, and then maybe once you're done, if you would.
Yeah, I'm sorry
fill out
about
one of
that.
these to give
My name is Rod Schultz. My business at 1555 Downriver Drive. I'm the owner of Precision Industrial Contractors. Make a long story short, I have put my app in for about RV storage on 1059 Gorig Road. So I am in the process of the app, and hopefully I can stay in there.
So he's one of the other ones on that list.
Okay.
in the pipeline.
Some of the thoughts going forward on this thing is, I bought the 10 acres from Thoney's back in to build my offices over there in, I think it was 95. Ended up buying the corner of our Downriver Forest Products at 1555 Downriver Drive and moved my facility over there. A few years later, I bought some more property from McDougal over there too. In the process, the bottoms is in the woodland, I feel it's going to be a great industrial area. I'm in construction, so I relocate facilities and plants all over the United States. It's a great source here for people to move to, and I've taken people through many spots of plans where to go. It hasn't been right with the infrastructure that isn't here yet, and it's really hurt Woodland. I knew it was coming. I invested in property. I've had it set there over 10 years, and I had to do something with it. I mean, I'm putting taxes out, money every year. So with all the housing that's moved in, Richfield, Woodland, the center, north, it's crazy. And with all the CNRs, nobody's got a place to put their boat or their RVs. So go ahead and put a moratorium on something that people can make a living at or an income. Seems like it's cutting our own throat. If we want to do that, number one, and we haven't researched enough, why should somebody tell us we can if they're 83% filled up? That's pretty good in my book. So I think it's wrong in one way, but I also see some restrictions. Travis talked about containers. You know, we thought about containers. I don't want something to my name on it that looks like container yard. It ain't my way. You can look at our facility over there. It don't look that way. You look at the Weekender that's got an RV storage. I went down there, talked to those boys. I want my place to look better than that. And that's a good spot. When you develop over here in the bottoms, right now, all we got is agriculture only. Without Columbia River carbonates, and I put that plan in back in '82. We have nothing. It's start to do something over there. And if a big industrial plant wants to come in, and I got an RV storage there, if they want my 20 acres, guess what I'm going to do? They're going to get my 20 acres because it creates a lot more revenue monies than my RV storage. So we got to start somewhere. We got to build here. I feel Woodland is great, but we got to make it access for people who want and come here and start building more in the industrial, the bottoms lands. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I'm in. I think I stay in, and I hope I'm granted to go ahead and proceed. Then if you want to throw your moratorium in, I don't care. No, not really, but thank you.
Thanks a lot. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Schultz? No?
Where's 1059 Gory?
I can show you on the area.
Okay, great.
So,
Mr. Schultz, was your proposal that you've already started, is that just a ground level? Is it a multi-story building, or is it just boat and RV?
The one I've got,
I'm just curious. I don't know if it's relevant.
Are you familiar with the Weekender up here, next to PDM Steel?
No, I'm not.
Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to have a lot of covered RV motorhome spots. I also will put some enclosed areas. I'm not into the...
But it's not the multi-story?
No, no, sir. It's one level.
I was just curious.
Met with our pre-planning, met with the farm marshal. There are 5,000 square foot units, segments, then covered 5,000 segment units to pull under that are open.
Oh, so you're the berry fields right when you go over the railroad tracks, huh?
Okay.
Oh,
Well, that's all phonies, and you come all the way down.
I got you, I see you.
So we have our lay-down yard, equipment lay-down yard on the, correct, right there. And then the property to the right of it. So that's what we want to do.
Railroad tracks are just...
Just to the right of that
center.
red.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
yeah. So ignore that, sorry. It's
Actually, it's out.
In the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it right there, okay. All right.
Anything, guys?
If there was some sort of moratorium or prohibition, you'd be able to charge a lot more for your units though, wouldn't you?
Well, that's right. That's why I said, you can't from them. No, but, you know, and I agree with that. I mean, I think instead of moratoriums, I think I would raise the standards. I mean, if you just like, you know, I've traveled in the States and I see a lot of people like, told about containers, stacking them up and using storage. It's a junkyard. I mean, I wouldn't want it in my community, in my area. It's done because it's cheap, but it isn't something I want to be lived next to or have in my area.
I got a question for you before you go down. I think Mike's going too. When you when you get around to developing this as a storage unit, what do you do with all that Tony Farms topsoil? You scrape that off and send it away?
Well, a lot of the area I've already got, I've scraped and I compacted and got rock in it. So that's there, we're probably going to build out first.
Okay.
And then for future, what happens is on the McDougal place, which is to the right, looking at it, is the other 10 acres. And what I do now is actually, with Tony, he farms, does everything just to keep the grass down and keep it clean.
Right.
So I don't, he just does it just to, I let him, and he can grow anything he wants on it. So just trying to keep it up. And it's a lot of maintenance, to be honest with you. So we want to clean that area up and actually copy it. It's very similar to, if you ever go by that place, it's a nice looking place.
Yeah. So indulge me for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
In a flight of fancy. Let's say there's some apocalyptic future when farmland is more valuable than storage units. What would it take to tear your gravel and asphalt out and grow?
And grow?
Again. What's that?
Tear my asphalt out?
Yeah, or your rock or your road base, whatever you're putting down to grow strawberries there again. Or you're not a farmer, so you don't know.
That's right. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know. But if it's worth somebody and somebody wants to pay for it, I think we all do something for business and for money, to be honest with you. The bottom line behind every equation is the dollar bill.
Just out of curiosity, I know because I pass it every day, there's a new facility built in RV storage, pretty good sized, with some completely enclosed and some just with covers over it in South Kelso. Mm-hmm. Is yours going to be anything like that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it on?
Just right by Foster Farms.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. It's brand new.
What I've got planned out to mine is going to, I'll just break it out. I'm going to have a doggy park for when the people bring their RVs in. They can put their dog out. I'm going to have a dump station. It's the only dump station to met with the city.
You're not talking about RV storage. You're talking about an RV.
No, it's complete RV storage. But when people come and go, okay, you talk about bringing revenue. There you go. See that facility right there? Mm-hmm. Okay, I think it's a very nice looking facility. Some of the difference I'm going to do different is I work for SC with all the metal buildings. We install all their machinery all around and relocate and blot right now at the Klamath. I want eaves on all of mine, my lights on, everything's going to be paved. It'll be landscaped like it is out, be fully fenced, fully security. It'll be a dog park. When people come in, put their motorhome away, the boat, everybody's got to have a dump. There's no dumps. You go to the RV, the rest area, you're waiting in line.
Do you have an office? Are you proposing an office on site, or is it a 24/7 game?
No, I'm going to have an office. It'll be manned daily. The people that'll be with boats and motorhomes, you got 2 or 3 boats right here. You got Richfield, you got one that you guys are supposed to be putting in, and then you got the other boat launch right there. You got Klamath boat launch. It's a prime example to people store their boats. RVs, with all the housing, it's a recreational. The Northwest is recreational, and they're very big. So everybody needs a place to put it. Even to my family and friends I know, they're always looking for a place to store their boat or their RV. We'll have in storage enclosed like that. Then we'll have also the open in the back. The perimeter will be done in enclosed, and the middle just like that. I'm duplicating a lot of their design and layout, what we're doing.
brought this up because they actually have three types of structures. There's fully enclosed in the red. At the very back, you can see that that is actually a partially enclosed building. And then in the middle, internally, is just a cover.
Terrific.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
problem I won't do is probably the three-sided that you see in the back. If you do that for a month, I'll put a door on it and collect a little more income off it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, anybody else, any more public testimony? Yeah, come on. You don't get as much time as the last one.
You have Liberty's experience, I guess.
I'm gonna start a timer.
My name again?
Yes, please.
David Simpson, 506 Robinson Road. Travis touched on it briefly, and I know you're all thinking it, and it's something that I think the city needs to take some leadership in and try to figure out. All of this doesn't have any control over what gets built in the county, and any moratorium that goes in the city is just going to make the county unzoned pieces more attractive. And the county unzoned pieces, if you take a drive and look at, there's a storage off of Hillsdale. It's 5 buildings. So you have to go Green Mountain Road and then Hillsdale. That's in the county right there. And all they have for fire protection is a water bladder. And then the put it in storage on the other side of the lake. My understanding is they draw their water for fire protection out of the cow pond right there. They weren't built to city standards, and it would have to be brought into the city should we expand our boundaries and accept them as they are. So what you'll end up with is on our fringes, more places like that outside of the city's regulatory control, unless we have some way of having some effect with the county to get that to stop happening. Really. And a lot of the numbers we talked about was square feet per resident and units per resident, 123% of the households and all these things. But we're a community that goes all the way upriver. Yes, we're a city living, and I hear a lot of, or I read a lot of discontent over the fact that the city services take care of all the people that are in the county at the cost of all the people that are in the city. All the businesses provide business to all the people that are in the county, even though they're not residents of the city. So I guess there again, I'm going to ask you to do some of your own due diligence on the supply and demand and all the other aspects, but somehow get a message to city council or something. Somebody needs to take some leadership and try to put some control to what happens in the county here. Because, when we had when they were looking at zoning in the property all the way to the Lewis River, the word was, well, the county, we'll just build the county. We'll just build the county standards. So I'm not saying expand the urban growth boundary that far, but I am saying we need to get some agreement with the county.
Okay.
All right, that was number 2.
All right, that was under 3 minutes. All right, anybody besides Dave want to have something else to say? Okay, I think we are probably going to end up continuing this, so probably won't be your last chance, so you can rehearse something for next month. But did staff have anything else to add before we chat amongst ourselves here?
I did take a couple notes that I wanted to point out. Again, for the record, my name is Travis Goddard. The mapping that he's talking about is, I believe, they're transit-oriented corridors, and they specifically have overlays about trying to encourage certain types of development that will activate the streets where there's transit. And so I think the reason why they use that map is to avoid using those active areas to encourage storage. So they were looking at, if you're outside of those corridors, it's different than if you're where they're trying to encourage development that's transit-oriented within those corridors. So yes, they did do a map that was a little different than ours. And part of that is because the city of Vancouver has a significant staff amount of time and resources that they can do that with. My philosophy is, I always talk about mowing my lawn. The first time I mow my lawn, I cut 90% of the grass. I can mow it again and cut 95% of the grass, and I can mow it a third time and I'll cut 98% of the grass, but the question is, am I getting a return on my dollars? So yes, I started out my presentation saying, yeah, I did a quick search on the internet, I found a bunch of statistics, then I found what the City of Vancouver were doing with their considerable time and resources, and I didn't reinvent that stuff. I took an effort, I did some quick research on the City of Woodland stuff, and if you want me to spend another 40 hours of research, I can drill down into more specific data. I can actually go to each one of those individual sites rather than calling them. But the question is, would it influence your opinion anymore if I spent, 40 hours instead of 8?
I don't personally think more data is what we need.
And the city...
I'm going to kind of take a second opinion on that, because I agree with Dave on this, that I was kind of shocked that I heard about it in our last meeting, just out of the blue. We had chamber tonight, and I was talking to people about that, and this has been very quick, and for me, that's uncomfortable. I think Dave had a pretty valid point that if Vancouver's done all this research, here's the thing, you call on Vancouver and Clark County a lot. Why don't you go down there and ask them to come up and chat with us and tell us why they came up with their solution and what they saw as pros and cons. Not necessarily you doing it, but let's get some other feedback from people who have really addressed this situation and why they came up with their solution.
And I actually have the dates for the Planning Commission agendas, so you can actually watch them do their presentation and the conversation they had with their Planning Commission. But again, the 10 minutes they spend talking about their transit corridor and the impacts to the transit, you may find value to that, but for me to, ask them to come talk about the impacts to their transit corridor, that's part of the reason why I say my philosophy, I could mow the lawn twice. We could have queued up the videos and watched the 20-minute presentation. We can still do that, which is part of the reason why I didn't make a recommendation this month, because there's probably stuff that I needed to do or that you want me to do that there's 40 more hours worth of research I could have done. If you have 3 hours worth, I can do that. I just need to know where to focus my efforts.
For me, more than more statistics and, particular numbers on it, I guess I would be more interested in a variety of options to look at for, how to address this or not.
Okay. The other point that Dave brought up, and that is, it is unfair to look at one industry for the jobs per acre, because our code says the industrial district and the commercial district. So if you look at the truss plant, if they put in 100 jobs per acre, then the mini storage with 1 job per acre may be the perfect balance for the community.
I think... Well, anybody have any questions for Travis? I think we'll probably be shouting at you.
We're going to leave it open for the next time. And because we had such a short window between planning meetings, right, I would expect that you're probably going to do some more circle around on this before the next one, I would imagine.
And I did. I banged out the staff report.
While you were writing notes on Dave's testimony, I'm sure you were.
Yeah, so I was asked on Monday, and then I prepared a staff report by Wednesday, because Thursday and Friday were Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. This is really fast.
I think he should have came in on Thanksgiving and worked on this.
Yeah, realistically, because...
mow my lawn on Thanksgiving, right?
So, I guess we need to talk about what we want from Travis then. Well, I'll let you guys chat a little bit first. I have some thoughts, but I'm curious to hear yours.
I guess for me,
Point of order.
yes.
Is the public testimony closed at this time?
So, yeah, that's a good question. If I close public testimony, what does that mean for
That means...
another?
I think you would just want to suspend it, or
Leave it
you'll
open.
continue it till the next meeting,
Okay.
and you'll reopen it
Is
at
there-
that time.
Okay, so do we need a motion to do that, or can I?
is there anybody else that wants to talk?
Yeah, I should make sure of that. Anybody else?
I just had one thing I want to throw in.
Yeah, come on up.
Name and address.
Aaron Signor,
You gotta say it into the microphone.
Aaron Signor, 1711 Southeast 158th Avenue, Vancouver.
All right, thank you.
I have access to numbers that you guys don't through CoStar. If anybody could write that down, look it up. It's the Commercial Industries website that runs ESRI, which is National and Global Numbers for traffic. It's what all the guys in the commercial industry in Vancouver use. I pay for it through my firm. I'll give the numbers to you guys if you just tell me what information you want.
Numbers for, which numbers you like traffic?
Traffic, commercially, retail, sales, anything that you need.
So are you talking about trip generation? Or?
ESRI, ESRI,
Yeah.
everything. Happy to throw that in there.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Really? You should, it's fun. We like to hear what you have to say. All right. So do we need to make a motion to continue the hearing then? Or continue public testimony? Wait, I'm a little
I think that
out of my depth here.
I think you need to have a motion.
I move that we keep the testimony open until the next planning commission meeting.
I second that.
Do we need a time and date specific?
That's for the continuance of the hearing.
Okay.
But yeah, you might want to include that in the, just to make sure. I would
Okay.
include it.
Let's, okay, so motion's been made and seconded. How about, do we want to make a motion to amend it with, let's just do a whole minute.
Can we amend that to continue the hearing until the next meeting? Is that what we're trying to get to?
You can do that in a motion as well, but you'll need to finish the motion.
Yeah, we got to
that's on
finish
the
this
floor.
motion. So I would like
Friendly amendment?
a friendly amendment, yes. And that would be
Can we
to,
amend that motion then?
Yeah.
To continue this hearing until the next planning commission meeting?
well, let's, I'm looking for, just to be more specific, to get a time and date on that instead of the next commission meeting, which is, I don't have a calendar.
I'm not
in front of
following
me.
you, so you should just say it.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
I don't know what your vision
I got
for it,
lost in a
so
minute.
just,
All right.
our next planning commission meeting would be scheduled on
January
the 16th
January
of
16th.
January.
Okay,
at 7
that's all I want. I just want you to say January
Okay.
16th, 2020 in it.
January 16th, 2020.
How
7 o'clock right here in this building.
That's right. How does our parliamentarian feel about that?
So I think you need someone to make a motion to amend
Okay.
Commissioner Matson's motion to continue to a date and time and a location certain.
All right.
I move that we amend Commissioner Matson's motion to continue this hearing until January 16th at 7 o'clock in this building, where we can take it up again.
I second it.
Okay. Anyone opposed to that? Okay. Let's vote on the main motion then.
No, you vote on the amendment first,
We just-
then the main motion.
Okay. I was taking a shortcut,
Just do it
which I think I'm allowed to, but
Just do
that's,
it all
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Move back to the main motion. Ready to vote on that as well?
Do you want to give me instructions before you vote? What do you want me to do in preparation for that meeting and the motion?
Okay, so, all right, this is getting all mixed up at this point. Yeah, I was hoping to maybe still deliberate a little bit about that after we
Okay.
continue
So
the,
they need to continue.
is that all right? Does that work?
So his motion was to continue the public testimony.
Yes.
Which means you can still do that.
Okay. All right, so let's vote on that then. All those in favor of continuing the public testimony until January 6th, or on January 16th, 7 o'clock in this building?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, let's, I guess this is going on quite a while, but I'm curious about Commission's thoughts that haven't been shared yet.
On this?
Yeah. Yeah, because we need to, we're going to need to direct Travis and
You know, I
Yes, on
really
what to
think
bring
we
back
need
to us.
more information. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's enough information. I think this is going too fast. I understand, Travis, that you're uncomfortable contacting Vancouver, and if that's so, it looks like we've got two names here. Seems like we could call them.
what information is it that you're interested in?
I'm curious why
specifically?
they made the decisions that they did.
Okay.
What the benefits were that they saw. And, and here's the deal. Vancouver's a bigger city. You admitted it yourself. They had a whole lot more resources. Why wouldn't we go ask them for their resources? Every time I call a government agency in Washington, they're very, very willing to share everything that they have. In fact, they barf so much at you, you're like, could I hang up now? So, I don't see where this would be a problem.
Can I ask a real dumb question?
Of course.
The city council definitely had a reason why they were concerned about the issue. I'd like to know what those concerns are and what alternatives this would open up. I guess I'm concerned why we're even talking about it.
It just came out of the blue and without any background to it.
I've reviewed quite a few of these for Clark County, and I think a lot of the points that Travis brought up are valid points. I think that you don't get the job return for the industrial property. Maybe could get better returns with different uses. I don't know if I'm in favor of a full-on prohibition, but I think at the very least, design standards, review of those, maybe changing those would be in order. I certainly don't want to look out at all of, not that there's a lot of residential uses in the middle of light industrial, but I think acres and acres and acres of mini storage is not a develop, how we want Woodland to develop. Now, it's lucrative for the people that build those. Travis is getting a lot of inquiries and calls about it. And if everybody showed up next week and submitted a pre-app, they're all in under the wire. And so maybe that's some of the urgency that the city council is working with.
Maybe.
Well,
I'd rather hear it from them, but
Here's the
I'm
thing
just playing
that
devil's
I'm
advocate.
curious about, because Vancouver put a moratorium on it until they could make a decision. That seems like a reasonable option.
I think that was one of the options given to us by staff, too, is the
Okay.
moratorium, or is it?
That's-
The moratorium is already in place.
Yeah, that was my
already
next
in place.
question.
New
Okay.
applications cannot be considered or will not be accepted for the next 6 months or until a decision is made.
Okay, and
So
that,
city
okay,
council
okay, so
passed a
6 months.
moratorium
That helps.
on this.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I thought that was an option that we were.
Okay, that to me does take the urgency out of it substantially.
Completely.
Yes.
Okay, I was
Cool.
not aware of that.
So I have a couple thoughts about what you've mentioned. I think, obviously reinventing the wheel and doing work that's already been done is a waste of time and energy. On the other hand, Woodland is not just a smaller Vancouver. So I'm not sure that all the justification reasons that, while they would definitely be interesting, and I think we should consider them, the applicability of Vancouver's decisions to our situation in Woodland, doesn't seem one-to-one, I guess. It doesn't seem that straightforward. The other thing I'm wondering about is, I don't know, I guess I'm just sort of fundamentally uncomfortable with picking out one industry to hold to this standard and decide that we're going to interfere with the market on this one. That we're going to say, even if a business owner thinks there's, an opportunity for growth there, we know better than that. And that makes me a little uncomfortable. Maybe if it were done on a more systematic way and it weren't just one particular type of business that we were talking about treating this way, I'd be a little more comfortable with it. Because it is an issue that there is only so much land, and it would be nice for there to be more jobs. And if there was a way to address that without just saying, picking one off at a time, saying, well, we got too much storage and that's not enough jobs. Do we have another mechanism for regulating development based on that goal instead of just picking on this one kind of business? So I don't know, that just sort of seems like fundamentally not fair to me.
I think it's strictly a policy question, which was Mike's point of why is this here? Why is it so special? And that's a question that, given the continuance, I can bring that up to City Council and ask for further direction.
Okay. Is there, beyond just, prohibiting or otherwise regulating a particular use, such as storage, is there a way that in code that we could regulate, that we could say a development needs to create this many jobs?
It's in our plan.
Well, it's in our comp plan, but that...
Could we link it to percentage of development or something? I mean, is that a possibility?
Yeah, so I guess those are things that I'm curious about. This just feels a little too scattershot to me.
I'm curious because if you're doing strategic planning, the whole goal of like the comp plan or a strategic plan is that these are the parameters which we have agreed to. And if they fall outside those parameters, then we want to question that and see if that's a reasonable use. And so, to that extent, I think it's reasonable for them to look at this. And we really do have only a limited amount of land. So if we're going for the lowest hanging, if we're going for the least amount of jobs per acre, this, we might want to continue on this path. So, I see that side of the argument. But I also see Dave's side as we kind of moved really fast, and we should. And then I hear what you're saying is let's not recreate the wheel, but I think we should hear what the wheel has to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's we're not Vancouver, I guess is my only.
No, yeah, I would say we're not Clark County.
I would like also just to add that once you develop a piece of property, what's the likelihood that it's going to be redeveloped into something else? Now, Rod made the point of, hey, if somebody wants my 20 acres and they're willing to pay for it, I'll give it to them. But that price tag, once you've put your investment into it, goes way up on that property, right? So the land becomes less of a bargain for maybe what our comp plan would see as a more favorable use within that area.
Exactly. I think as we talk, there's a whole lot of questions coming up. And then, really, Travis, what was the impetus to target these? Which city council meeting did this come up in?
November 6th. I had brought it up when I did I believe it was my October discussion.
So you started this?
And it was, when I do my monthly report, I talk about the applications that come in the door and the inquiries, because the city council wants to know what kind of activity is going on, what's on the horizon. So I brought it up, and then in my November meeting, I had pointed out that yes, so there are 40 acres that are looking at being purchased and developed, and they were like, oh, wait a minute. So people aren't just calling and asking. People are talking about, 10%. Why are we studying the utility district or the utility service for our industrial district if 10% of it is going to have no water, no sewer, no traffic? Why are we talking about expanding or planning utility expansions when nobody's going to use it?
I have a question for you, Travis, though. The comp plan is supposed to be followed, and it is supposed to be our strat plan for how we're planning out the city. And so how does this play into these permits that are coming in? Because that should have already been a first pass.
So the comprehensive plan has 3 designations, commercial, industrial, and residential, which are implemented by our zoning code. And our zoning code has 2 industrial and 3 commercial zoning districts. So yeah, so theoretically, the zoning implements the comprehensive plan, and in our zoning, mini storage is allowed in the commercial and industrial, highway commercial and the light and heavy industrial zoning districts. So it is recognized that it's consistent with our comprehensive plan as it's implemented by zoning. But the comprehensive plan also has goals and policies, which are the policies implement the goals. And that's why I pointed out there are plenty of goals and policies which talk about everything from small town atmosphere and, diverse housing, which this won't affect, all the way through to the next slide, which talks about the economic development and jobs that are stable and diverse and yada, yada, yada. And that means that, yes, any commercial development is good for economic development, but is it good for diverse job base? Well, I don't know. If it's, if we get nothing but 400 acres of storage, is that a diverse and stable job? I don't know. That's why the comp plans, there's stuff that supports it and there's stuff that doesn't. But that's the nature of the comprehensive plan, which is why we're having this conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can find both.
Yeah, I think, so we got 6 months. That doesn't mean we need to use 6 months, but I also, I'm not feeling super urgent about getting this done next month either. Because I think, just that it is, that there are already so many of these businesses in Woodland tells me that this is a significant issue that we should take seriously and treat carefully.
I agree with you.
Does that mean I want you to, go do 40 hours of research on this immediately? Maybe not. But I do think we should give it some time and attention.
I would like to hear what other people came up with and why they came up with that. I think that's really important, that you don't ask your planning commission to pull something out of thin air.
And
he hasn't yet.
And that's exactly why I didn't pull something out of thin air and send it to you to vote on. Yeah, because I feel that same reservation.
Okay.
I think Travis should do some immersion therapy before the next hearing. Maybe stay the night in one. What do you think?
Yeah, really. And give us some feedback, space, aesthetics.
So what kind of guidance does staff need from us moving forward?
So I've gone through the City of Vancouver stuff, including both their paper staff reports, and I've watched their videos, as Melissa has. So we're familiar with that. We can I took some of the statistical analysis. They also have some information about what other jurisdictions have in their regulations, so I can pull that out and bring that to you. I'll also send you by email the dates. Actually, I will announce that right now so that it's in the public record, and I'll follow up with an email link. If you go to the City of Vancouver website, the Planning Commission did a work session on September 10th, 2019, and a public hearing on October 8th, 2019. And there are also some other meetings that they discuss. But if you actually want to watch the staff's presentation and their back and forth, they do have some interesting conversations about the pros and cons, and you'll find out what that community is wrestling with. It doesn't make much sense for me to kind of, get the minutes and send them to you because it's...
Yeah.
Right, the minutes are usually useless.
Yeah.
Is there other communities that you've seen that have made decisions and...
Ridgefield.
I thought they had, because they're very limited on their And is there information from them that you can obtain?
I haven't contacted them. I saw Columbian articles, but we could do that.
Okay.
I know for a fact that there has been some discussions in Clark County, but they haven't done anything yet.
Okay.
I guess I'm also, I'd be interested in options for, something a little broader, a little bit less targeted to one business, if
I see.
that seems reasonable.
So actually looking at our comp plan and,
I mean, we're not going to do a comp plan amendment on this, but I guess, yeah, looking at the goals that are already in there,
and
for
then
sure.
put something in.
Yeah, if that's, not going too overboard on that, but just see if it feels possible.
The City of Vancouver discussion, anecdotally, part of their testimony was that the majority of business owners and operators felt that they were a commercial operation, not an industrial operation. And so when I prepare language for potential code amendments for you to consider, do you have a feeling one way or the other? Should maybe we want to prohibit it in the heavy industrial, but not the light industrial and the commercial? Maybe you think it should only be in the commercial district. Maybe you think it should only be in heavy industrial. That is some direction that would help me narrow down my, at least, language preparation.
I think the least palatable zone of those, for me to have those in, is commercial. I'd rather have it to be light or heavy than commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial would be the first one I would take off the
Yeah.
allowed use list.
And-
But this is preemptive. This isn't.
Yeah, this is totally preemptive, but the only reason why I would side with you on that, Brian, is because, we have like no commercial property, and giving it up for this would not be fun.
From what it looks like an industrial property where the renting of spaces is
Yeah.
more commercial in nature, but
Yeah.
I can understand why there's confusion on which one it is.
Okay, I'll give you this one back.
I think that's yours.
That's
I
fine.
have one
Thank
too.
you. Okay, I'll take this.
All right, does it you feel like you got enough to get started? You got anything to add there?
No, I think it needs a lot of discussion, but I'm not sure what to discuss yet. I think I have to think about it quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't know, come up with any kind of a thought process even.
Okay, so I guess I would ask the commission then to, look into this on your own as well. Check out what went on in Vancouver, and, just generally give it some thought. So I think at this point, we should continue the hearing to the next meeting. So I will need a motion for that.
So we just did that.
We continued the public testimony.
But we amended it to continue the hearing.
To a date and time and location certain.
Mhm.
So whoever makes that motion.
Yeah. Well, we just, okay.
Yeah, we
I think we only did
I have it down as we did just the public testimony portion of it is continued to be open until that meeting.
okay. So that might have been, you might have made a mistake then. All right, this will be quick.
I move that we continue this hearing until January 16th at 7 o'clock in this building.
I second that.
I third it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, fantastic. How's everybody feeling?
I'm tired.
We got one more, we have a discussion and workshop on the agenda. You up for it, or we want to put that off?
If it's fast, I'm up for it, but if it's not, I'm not.
Staff, is that fast or not?
Accessory dwelling units, highly unlikely.
So I'll just give you a quick update. So we have made progress on Exit 21. We will be having a internal technical advisory committee meeting on December 11th.
Is that open to the public?
No, the city council will hear it on December 16th, or December 16th, which is Monday, September 16th.
December.
This is
December.
going to be a what
Sorry.
meeting?
What's that?
What did you call the meeting?
City council meeting.
Yes, the city council is going to hear what?
So it'll be a presentation from the consultant about the work that's been done, and then we will hold a open house in this room on the next day, Tuesday, December 17th at 1:30. And so we're specifically picking 1:30 so that the Chamber of Commerce, which is having its Christmas lunch from 11:30 to 1, give them the opportunity to come over here. But it's open to the entire public, and so it'll probably be 1:30 to 3:30, so that you'll be able to meet with us and see what work has been done, and the narrowing down of the choices or the discussion will probably lead to open houses in January, and the traffic consultants will be here probably January, maybe February, but probably January, to discuss the Exit 21 conclusions and options.
They've got a solution, huh?
Multiple solutions, fortunately. But,
Okay.
so that discussion is going on. The next opportunity for all of the public is January 16th, City Council right here in this room, 7 o'clock. So that will be on the agenda. Other than that, the question about retooling our code, there is also one other big project that is going to be thrown on the work plan for 2020, and that is updating of the shoreline program. So the shoreline program most recently was updated in 2017, and it was actually the 2013 update that took 4 years to actually get adopted. The good news is they did a thorough adoption, and this time around it's more just to verify that it still meets the Shoreline Management Act. The fact that it's the 8-year update, but it was only adopted 2 years ago, means there haven't been any significant changes. So I expect it to be actually done next year. So
Okay, and this is just to get us in line with Cowlitz County?
with the RCW, which said our updates are 2013 and 2021.
Okay, all right. Okay.
The fact that we took 4 years doesn't mean our schedule was changed.
Okay. So we can kick these other discussions down the road a little bit?
Travis, I just wanted to add one thing, because I know that we've done this in Clark County. I think there are funds available to update. We're getting that? Okay. You're already on
Yes.
that? Okay.
So we're filling out that grant
So
information.
someone else is paying for it at least.
Oh, this is a big bonus. Hey, last commission meeting, we had a discussion about taking a letter to city council.
Yes, yeah.
And I would like to propose that, we do probably work through email to put together a letter, and then
Okay, one thing we can't do is email each other, just because of open public meeting acts.
why can't we use a city email to do that?
You could, because it is, no, you can't.
Because there's no notice, because we don't have notice. We'd have to, every time we wanted to send an email to each other, we'd have to give
Can
a
you refresh
week.
my memory? What were we going to do again?
Remember there,
It was about fees for,
So I did a little bit of follow-up research, and I can email what I found. So last time we were talking about the cost to appeal a notice and order is $700 in Woodland, and we were talking about if that's high or too much to ask of somebody that's been served with something, they haven't initiated this process themselves. And I looked at several cities, and I have a list, and I'll email it to you. I'll follow up, and I'll email that out to you. But I saw several different cities and jurisdictions, like King County, for example, is free to appeal. You have a very specific timeline to do it in. There were others where it was just a small administration fee, $50 to file your appeal. Some jurisdictions, there was an administration fee, and you would pay for the public hearing time, but that would be refunded if you won your appeal.
I think that's what we were.
And then it could range
in
up
our
to
city, they're
even
not
more.
refunding it.
I think that's
Yeah.
what our problem was.
Yeah, and that was the biggest problem that we were having, which brings me back to this question of, so we're not having a meeting, we're putting together working papers to talked to here, well, okay, so I have a question for you guys, because initially you told us that we couldn't even address this, that this wasn't even in the Planning Commission. So if that's a true statement, then us using personal emails to draft this proposal should have been fine. But you're saying that's not fine because now we're doing public meetings, so then we do have the authority to do this. And then my understanding, talking to the the State Attorney General, that as long as we have this through our Woodland City email, that's appropriate, because people are going to do working papers before they come to a meeting and talk about them at the meeting.
So what the conversation was at the time, and that was recommending a code change to change that amount or to add language. And what I was saying is the fees are not set by code, the fees are set by resolution. So you can't propose a code change.
You suggested that we attend the hearing and stand up and say, we want this.
Yes.
Which is why we were going with the letter.
Yes.
Public testimony to city council.
Yes, so any one of you can show up at any city council meeting and make a recommendation.
But we wanted to do it as as each of us in our position as a planning commissioner, and to say that this is,
Yes.
we think this is something we should consider.
Yes, and you can send, and technically you should send that recommendation to me, and then I would forward that on to the city council. The other issue that had come up at that time, and that is the budget responsibility that's associated with giving money back and refunding. Those are council responsibilities, not the planning commission. So in other words, I don't bring my budget to the planning commission to review, and your opinion of my budget is not relevant because the city council is the one that approves or denies my budget. So the nuance of the conversation of what I was saying at the time might have been lost because technically the planning commission
Definitely
has no
fees are
input.
not a budget
What's that?
issue. Fees are not a budget issue. You do get monies from them, but it's not something that you're going to consider as your straight budget, because that would be saying like Mary's going to fine this many people in a year, and she's not. So, okay, sorry, not fun talking to me about finance.
I think you could continue this conversation, and having it here is good because it's open public record.
Right.
I think we were cautioning against, if you start an email chain, it becomes not just public records, then it becomes a rolling public meeting. And that needs to give notice to everybody so they can participate in that in more of like a real time. So having it right here is great. We're on camera. Everybody can access this freely.
So are you proposing that like we do a rough draft of the letter and bring it here and then talk about it?
Yeah.
That would be the
Okay.
best.
Okay, that's reasonable.
All right. Okay, so we're all right. Do you have any more staff reports for us before we shut her down? All right, kicking the discussion workshop stuff down the road a little bit. Anybody else have anything to mention?
No.
How about a motion to adjourn?
I'm to that. I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that. Anyone opposed? We're done. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Sir, in the leather jacket, I noticed you were taking